So, with all of these shared passions of accessibility, inclusivity, and the MoMA, how could I not be excited about this DRA event this evening? Today, I am presenting a DRA Eagle Award to the Museum Access Consortium. You all learned from the video at the beginning of the evening about the phenomenal work that is being done at MoMA to include everyone. MoMA is a member of an outstanding consortium of museums called MAC. MAC was formed after the passage of the Americans with Disabilities Act, when a small group of people working in museums and the disability field began to brainstorm ways on how best to make New York City's museums more accessible. Today, MAC is a model institution offering professional development, workshops, and an abundance of resources to ensure that cultural facilities in the New York area and beyond are accessible to people who have disabilities. Here to accept the award on behalf of MAC is one of the organization's founders, Francesca Rosenberg.
Thank you. It is truly a great honor to accept this award on behalf of the Museum Access Consortium. Yay! MAC is doing remarkable work to improve the lives of people with disabilities, and this award is especially meaningful because it comes from DRA, which has so positively impacted this often overlooked and extremely important demographic. It's been an honor to get to know staff and board members from DRA and to learn about all the extraordinary work that's going on, and most recently right here in New York City. Also, it's very special to receive this award from Lucy Jones. You must see her work in the exhibition upstairs. It's our newest design show here at MoMA, and you have to love a designer whose motto is that when we design for all, we all win. In terms of MAC, I remember back in 2002 sitting with Leah Fox, who was Leah Schroeder at the time, at MoMA and talking through the idea. We felt it was important to reinstate MAC, which had existed on a smaller scale in the 90s. We wanted to develop a forum for local cultural institutions to be able to learn from one another and to collaborate. We met with our colleagues, Rebecca McGinnis, who's here tonight, and Deborah Jaffe at the Met, and now MAC is 1,300 members strong. There is meaningful work going on at cultural institutions across the city. As museum staff, we recognize the great potential for self-awareness, expression, growth, and empowerment through the arts. Whether it's a touch tour for blind visitors who get to do what everybody wants to do, but we're not allowed to do, namely touch original sculpture, or an art-making class for students who are deaf, we know that engagement with art can benefit mental stimulation, communication, personal growth, and feelings of social connectedness. I have to say, I'm so happy to be up here with Stephanie Fain, who's been with us all the way. She works with us at all of our cultural institutions, and she is just a pleasure. It's true. MAC is an association that regularly holds professional development workshops and offers a network of mutual support. The events are varied and address topics ranging from welcoming people with Alzheimer's disease to your museum, to revised ADA regulations, to employment opportunities for people with disabilities. Many great outcomes have resulted from these educational and inspiring programs. For instance, after participating in MAC's Supporting Transitions program, an initiative aimed at breaking down barriers to cultural institutions for adults with autism, the Jewish Museum is partnering with MAC to create a paid internship position for an adult with autism. I'll tell you just one more story. After attending a MAC event and learning that 80 to 90% of adults with autism are under or unemployed, an educator at the Transit Museum advocated to create a paid position within the Transit Museum's education staff for an adult with autism. These positions are ongoing and serve as successful examples of the unique contributions adults with disabilities can bring to the staff of a cultural institution. These are just two examples, but there are many more. MAC is actively working within New York's community of cultural institutions, bridging gaps between arts organizations and individuals with disabilities to create a more inclusive New York City. We believe in sharing what we learn. Please go to the MAC website. Cindy Vandenbosch, who is here, spent so much time on it, as did many other people, and it has extensive resources, which include best practices. And the calendar section is wonderful. It includes all the accessible offerings available across the city in the coming months. It's amazing that all of this is done by volunteers. It's run by dedicated volunteers from across the tri-state area, and I'd really like to salute the MAC representatives that are here tonight, all of whom have served on the steering committee and have given their time and energy to further the effort of making art in all its forms accessible to people with disabilities. So please, could I just quickly say their names? It's everyone at this table almost. Constance Stinnon, it's Rebecca McGinnis, it's Cindy Vandenbosch, Miranda Applebaum, and Lara Schweller. MAC is extremely thankful to its fiscal sponsor, City Access New York, and to the FAR Fund for their ongoing generous support. On a personal note, I'd like to thank, also at this table, Carrie McGee and Lara Schweller again, because Lara is with the MAC, but also with MoMA, with their community and access team, and they work every day toward making MoMA a welcoming and inclusive place. I'd also very quickly like to thank James Guerra, our COO, and Wendy Woon, our Deputy Director for Education, for their vision and support. MoMA is fortunate to be part of such a strong network of cultural institutions committed to better serving people with disabilities. We have seen how serving a diverse public makes for a more dynamic and relevant cultural institution. Museums are responding to their communities and the pressing issues of the time, and in fact are helping to bring about a social transformation in the way that both institutions and individuals Think about disability with a focus on fostering creativity and improving quality of life. While there are exciting developments underway, there is still much to be done. Our hope is that one day, museum offerings for people with disabilities will be present in every community and thus will no longer be exceptional. Thank you.
Francesca Rosenberg, ladies and gentlemen. Congratulations, Francesca. Are you sitting there thinking what I'm thinking? Who is typing these words on the screen? They must be absolutely awesome at texting. Can you imagine? Thank you, Scott. I live to type. You say it here and it comes out there. It's just amazing. A lot of people do a lot of hard jobs in this room, I know. Dan Carrion, our friend with the NYPD, probably has the hardest job in the room. I think we would all acknowledge that. But the guy with the second hardest job in the room is my friend Peter Alexander, who's the chief White House correspondent at NBC. But it gets better. Peter is the brother of our next Eagle awardee. Ladies and gentlemen, Peter Alexander.
Thank you so much for including me tonight, Scott. Thank you so much. I'm a huge admirer, and it's always nice to be here as we're all celebrating together on the same team. Thank you for including myself and my family in this evening. As a journalist, my job obviously is to tell stories for a living, and I've had the opportunity that's allowed me to travel to places from Baghdad to Beijing, Walla Walla to the White House, but there is no story that I'm more proud to share with you than that of my sister, Rebecca. Rebecca is not just my sister. We got to get that right? When you're meeting the guys, you got to make sure, hey, I go by Rebecca now, right? Rebecca isn't just my sister, she's my best friend. Scanning Twitter today, as I did on the way up here on the train, which we White House correspondents do increasingly frequently these days, one tweet caught my attention. This one, not by the president, but this one came actually from the Middle East. And it had a picture of a wheelchair on it. It had Arabic beneath it, and it had a translation in English beneath that said, "Access for people of determination." That immediately made me think of Rebecca. Like anyone who's ever met my sister Rebecca, I don't see her as disabled, but rather as fiercely determined to accomplish whatever she sets her mind to. If you haven't met her, you should know that Rebecca has a rare genetic disorder called Usher syndrome type 3 that is causing her to go blind and deaf. She now has roughly 10 degrees of vision. It's like seeing the world through two small straws. Her attitude and her example, the example, frankly, she sets every day, is not just inspiring, it is motivational. As Rebecca says, when facing a challenge, it may be harder for me, it may be tougher, it may take longer, but it's not going to stop me from achieving my goals. It's true. Rebecca is a psychotherapist. She's a motivational speaker. She's an author. The book she wrote is called Not Fade Away, a memoir of senses lost and found. She is an extreme athlete. She's also a Lululemon brand ambassador. As long as our license is being torn away, I may as well just say it. She's what we call a badass, okay? In the last 2 years, I'll have to check my work email after that. In the last 2 years, Rebecca climbed Mount Kilimanjaro and she swam from Alcatraz to shore. I take a water break halfway up the stairs when I'm putting my 2 daughters to bed. She is fearless, she is powerful, which doesn't mean that she doesn't face extraordinary challenges each day, including routinely leaving behind things simply because she didn't see them, didn't even recognize they were there, which reminds me, Beck, by the way, I brought your hair dryer. It's in the bag that I checked, so later before we leave, make sure I hand that off. But most importantly, Rebecca is the most impressive woman that I know, which is why I'm so incredibly proud tonight to present my sister, Rebecca, with the Disability Rights Advocates Eagle Award. Please join me in welcoming Rebecca Alexander.
Hi, can you hear me? So I just wanted to tell you a quick story with Peter here while we're both here, because this is sort of an example of what it means to be someone with a disability and try to navigate sort of the able-bodied world. I can't remember, it was probably about 5 or 6 years ago, but we went to a party that some friends invited us to. That's another reason. So we went to a party that a friend invited us to, and I was told there was a cute guy that was there and that I should, say hi to him, and I didn't know how to navigate it. Mind you, it was very loud and very dark, and needless to say, I couldn't see or hear. And so Peter was standing next to me, and we saw this cute guy approaching, and literally as he was approaching from my right side, Peter was on my left, and he said, "Okay, Beck, you gotta turn in 5, 4, 3, 2, hi!" And the timing was impeccable. So he's also my wingman. So before I sort of say my remarks, I just wanted to introduce Susie Murrow. She's interpreting and now has to sign about herself, which I love, by the way. Susie Murrow and I have known each other for a long time, back from when I worked at the School for the Deaf in Brooklyn as the social worker there. She is one of my favorite deafblind interpreters, and if I wasn't holding this microphone, I would be able to sign better. But she is remarkable, and I will tell anybody who will listen, she's my favorite interpreter ever. So to have her interpreting for me today is so meaningful in so many different ways. Let me get to my remarks here. Okay, I'm going to try to read, which is going to be interesting in its own right. So, I want to thank my brother first and foremost for making the trip from DC to come here. And initially when I wrote these remarks, the joke was I wanted to thank him for taking a break from reporting the fake news and alternative facts. And unfortunately, I'm at a point where I no longer think that's funny. And as a person living with a disability, it's not funny, especially in this country and as we are supposed to represent ourselves around the world. So, having said that, I'd also like to thank my 99 3/4-year-old grandmother, who is here. She's visiting from California. She's going to be 100 on November 5th. And we are sharing a bed and a bathroom. So I'd like to thank my closest friends and my family for attending all of the disability-related events that I participate in, which is generally about 2 to 3 times a week. And most importantly, I want to extend a tremendous, tremendous thank you to disability rights advocates, not only for honoring me and all of the work that I do in my efforts to increase and improve awareness and visibility for people with disabilities, but also for fighting for the rights, not privileges, the rights of people with disabilities. So the DRA is the only organization in New York that's doing high-impact legal work on behalf of people with disabilities. Some of the changes the DRA has made, and many people have spoken about it tonight, but include emergency planning so that people like me and other people with disabilities will have a plan in the event of a disaster. Other work that they have done is improving the accessibility of polling sites for voting so that people with disabilities have the access and ability to vote just like everybody else. I'm trying to follow this, but it's a little slow, and this feels really good to be visually impaired and know that I'm seeing this. Okay. And most recently, as many of you probably read about in the New York Times this week, the decades-long battle that the DRA has been working on to improve the sidewalks and street corners, the 162,000 street corners in New York City that are not only inaccessible, but dangerous for all people, but particularly for people with disabilities. Legal advocacy is crucial in creating change and equality for people living with disabilities. So I want to make something very clear. Having a disability is not a choice. How you treat others and what you do or don't do to help others is a choice. In my practice as a psychotherapist, I am constantly confronted with people struggling to make a choice, to get out of a dead-end job, to end a long-term relationship, to ask for a higher pay, and my favorite, to face a fear. Living my life with a disability means that I am commonly referred to as an inspiration. If you ask any person in this room who is living with a disability how many times they have been called an inspiration, they will likely tell you that they have lost count. But I'm not an inspiration because I live a full life with both vision and hearing loss. I'm an inspiration because I live my life with constant awareness of my fear and my vulnerability. Each time I cross the street, I am afraid of what I could be missing. I'm afraid of a broken crosswalk or a speeding car. Each time I ask for help, which often means relying in good faith on a complete stranger, when I can't see or hear, I am living out my fear of not being able to manage or navigate my surroundings independently, or missing crucial information in my environment so that I do not get hurt. It is the choice of so many of my friends and family, and most often complete strangers, to help me when I ask for it, that inspires me, that makes me believe that people truly do understand that having a disability is not a choice, but that helping someone with one is. I want to thank all of you for making the choice to attend the Disability Rights Advocates inaugural event in support of all of us who live our lives with a disability and want nothing else but a quality of life that we deserve. Thank you.
Rebecca Alexander, ladies and gentlemen. So well said. Well, as they say, the man you're about to meet needs no introduction, especially to so many of the people here in this room. Sid Wolinski is a renowned civil rights attorney who's been working on behalf of people with disabilities for more than 50 years. While most of his contemporaries are hitting the golf course every day, Sid is going to work at the office and in the courtroom every morning to defend the civil rights of people with disabilities. Sid co-founded DRA in 1993 with his partner, Larry Paradis. He continues to run the organization as a supervising attorney, and he was the driving force behind the opening of our DRA office here in New York City back in 2010. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Sid Wolinski.
I cannot tell you what this evening means to me. To use a Berkeley expression, it blows my mind. Okay. Larry would have loved it, and Larry would have been so proud, and I'm sorry he could not be here with us tonight because it's an inspiration to us. It's wonderful to have all of you here, and I have the opportunity to present the last award of the evening to a company that is one of my favorite companies, which is Starbucks. All right. I have to tell you that the history and relationship of DRA and Starbucks had a very unpromising beginning. Okay. For those of you who don't know, it began with DRA threatening to sue Starbucks. Okay. Starbucks had hired an architectural firm, a high-powered architectural firm from my alma mater, Yale, who apparently never read California law, right? And their counters were much too high. So I wrote a letter to Starbucks. DRA never brings a lawsuit without saying what we said in that case, which is, we want to point out that you have a problem, we want to be constructive, we want to work with you. P.S. If you don't, we will sue you. The next day, I received a call from a woman who said, "You don't know me, but I'm Lucy Helm. I am the general counsel for Starbucks, and I want you to tell us what's wrong and tell us how to fix it." I was speechless. For those of you who don't know me, this is an uncharacteristic statement. I returned the call, and she said, "Would you like us to come down there, or would you like us to come up here?" So I went up there, and after an over-caffeinated session, right, we settled our lawsuit, and the rest, as they say, is history. There began a mutual admiration society between DRA and Starbucks. We deeply recognize the profound work that Starbucks has done over the years for people with disabilities. Lucy Helms is just one of my personal heroes, and Lucy is here to accept the award for Starbucks and all of the work that they have done for people with disabilities. Lucy Helms.
I'm going to take the award and give it back. So far be it from me to correct Sid Wolinski, but I'm going to correct two things. The first one is, he said that he was sorry that Larry wasn't here, but I think Larry's here, and he's with us. The second is he said a couple things about our first occasion that I have to tell you, correct a little bit. Number one, I wasn't general counsel. I was just a peon lawyer. I had been there a year, but as fates would have it, when we got this letter from disability rights advocates, and if someone else had gotten it, they might have answered it a little bit a different way. But as the fates aligned, I, in my former career, had been a disability rights advocate in my college years and after I graduated from law school, working for an independent living center with people with disabilities as a lawyer. So I kind of knew the law. And the other thing that I'll say about Sid's letter is I thought he was wrong about California law, and I thought we could win that case. So we'll leave that to a different day. However, what I would say is, to me, when I read it, and this is the part about that I loved about being at Starbucks since the first day that I worked there, was that I knew that it wasn't about winning or losing, but about doing the right thing. And Sid's right. We read it, I looked at it, and they talked about, we had higher planes where we used to put the beverage. I think they invented them to show it off, so that you'd see a big cup and you'd go, ta-da! Well, that's fine, except if you're a short stature or in a wheelchair, and you're not ta-daing anything, you're just asking for somebody to hand it to you. And it's not the respectful thing to do. Well, I'd never thought of that before, nor had any of us. And so when we talked to disability rights advocates, we said, how can we do it better? I'll tell you something about the mission statement of Starbucks. You might think that it's to be the best purveyor of coffee, the most wonderful tasting coffee, and to confuse you by all those sizes that we sell that are Italian. But it's not. Here's the mission statement of Starbucks, and has been for our 40 years history. To inspire and nurture the human spirit, one person, one cup, one neighborhood at a time. And our value of diversity has been with us since our inception 45 years ago, including an encouragement of all of our employees, who we call our partners, to create a culture of warmth and belonging where everyone is welcome. And that includes people with disabilities, but it does not specialize or take them into account as special people. They're just people that we treat with opportunities both as employees and as customers like anyone else. Do we have initiatives? We do. We have a lot of initiatives that are very intentional about being inclusive of persons with disabilities, just like we have very inclusive and intentional policies for veterans and their spouses, for refugees, for opportunity young people, for women. We have all kinds of initiatives because you do have to do that. You have to work at inclusive behavior. And so we do. We have a partner network, an affinity group that supports our partners, our employees with disabilities. We have one that supports people who have children with disabilities. We celebrated with great aplomb the 25th anniversary of the Americans with Disability Act by having speakers in and celebrating that civil rights law that made the life for all of us better. We have an award we give for equal access for innovation and thinking about how to give service and to customers with disabilities even better. We gave 50 of those last year. We have Braille menu cards. We have Braille Starbucks cards. We teach sign languages classes when we need to. We have interpreters. All those things are kind of price of admission, though. We have to do that, because we want people with disabilities who are customers or who are partners or employees to feel as welcome as they possibly can in our business. But what's more important to me and what inspires me every day is something that happens just as a result of being who we are. I don't think you can legislate inclusive behavior. I don't think that you can require it and make it genuine. But I think you can tell people to be kind. And I think you can tell people to be welcoming. And I think you can tell people to do the right thing. And so every day I'm inspired about how we treat our customers and partners with disabilities because of stories like this. And stories that you've read in the news and we don't tell often enough, which is a store manager or excuse me, I don't even think it was a manager, a barista who learned sign language on her own time because she had a customer that came every day who was deaf. About a store manager that met a young man with autism and hired him because he thought he would be a particularly attentive customer service representative. About a paralegal that works for me who found out that we have blind shareholders who couldn't have access to the proxy materials, which we put in the back of the room at our annual meeting, and so created a Braille proxy statement on her own. It happens all the time. I had one just this last month. I met a young man, and I told him I work for Starbucks, and he said, he teared up, and he said, I got to tell you a story. My brother is developmentally disabled, and my brother is learning how to be independent. And my parents work down the street from a Starbucks, and he's trying to learn to make change, to be, to act right in a place of an establishment, to order things, to be with people without causing disruption. And they brought him to Starbucks. And they explained to the manager that if you could be a little patient with him, he's never really counted out his own money. He doesn't know how to order. And the store manager and the team absolutely embraced it and said, come here every day. And he did. And he learned, God's sake, how to order a venti, double quad, somewhere or another, and to make change and to sit at a table and be with community with respect and dignity. And I just heard that story. And we don't have a manual for that. No one told that store manager to do it. No one told that barista to take sign language, and no one told that store manager to hire a young man with autism. It's just about doing the right thing, about creating a culture of warmth and belonging where everyone is welcome. And does that give us business? Of course it does, because it's part of the fabric of who this company is and is around our country and around the world, to be that inclusive environment and to be the best business. And I'll say that one of the other thing that I'll end with is that we're kind of open source on that. If other companies want to copy anything we do, all the better. We don't need to be the most inclusive employer or the most inclusive customer service aspect of our restaurant. We don't need that. What we want to do is be a model. We want to tell someone else, you can do this too. You can be the store, the retailer, the business, to open your eyes to the people that are before you and provide those opportunities. And like all diversity efforts, we wish there wasn't a need for this award. We wish that no one had to make a special recognition for those of us who treat everyone equally and with respect and dignity. But until that happens, we stand with DRA and champion its efforts to use the laws and legislation to create equal rights and opportunities for all people, regardless of ability. We are exceptionally proud of our partnership with DRA, and with this award, we are so humbled and honored. Thank you so much.
Lucy Helm, ladies and gentlemen, with Starbucks. And can I just second Lucy's remarks? One of the people I admire most in the world is my pal, Howard Schultz, who is the founder of Starbucks. He grew up a really poor, disadvantaged kid in a housing project here in New York City, and has now created one of the world's great corporate citizens. And I just had to say that. It's a remarkable story. And so, congratulations to our distinguished Eagle awardees, and thank all of you for your generous donations. If you didn't have a chance to donate tonight, we're going to give you that opportunity. We're going to have dessert here in a moment, and I'm told that it's really amazing, so please stay here for that. The phone number that you can text your pledge to during dessert, 646-679-2372. Did we type that right? We did. We type everything right. We will continue to show your pledges during dessert, and I bet we can keep that telephone number up there to remind you what that is. Like I said before, everybody in this room has a number that they're comfortable with, and it would really be a shame if any one of us escaped this room without giving something to this remarkable organization that is ensuring equal rights and equal access to every American, every person here in New York City. Please enjoy the dessert, enjoy the company, enjoy this beautiful room, and I will leave you with just one last special presentation.
I want to offer, my name is Pat Kirkpatrick, and I want to offer my dear colleague, Kate Hamilton, who put this incredible gala on tonight. Brava, Kate.
Thank you all for being here. I really appreciate it. Please enjoy your desserts, enjoy the rest of your evening. It's humbling to see so many fantastic, fantastic people here, and DRA deserves all of this. You've seen the tremendous work. I am really, really excited that you're all here and thrilled that this event is now done and we get to enjoy the rest of our evening. So please enjoy.